What's going on tonight? Are you guys as anxious as I am to see this team play? I'm ready to see another 4 quarters of the Kings that get in the passing lanes, the Kings that steal the ball. Check this out, y'all. The Kings are 11 and 4, 11 and 4 this year when the Kings get double digit steals. So it comes down to what we talk about, the magic stats for this team. Write them in stone, and it usually is a victory. Well, we've got assists to turnovers, 30 assists, 10 turnovers. We've established that. Steals, 10 steals. It's a big stat for this team now. With Keon Ellis and De'Aaron Fox switching on the outside when they're in the game together, we will break it down for you tonight. Kings-Grizzlies, full night. Can the Kings hang on to the 6th seed? This is the pregame show on If You Don't Like That.
1, go.
Sacramento miscue. Carter, stolen by Williams. And look at this. Oh, you don't like that. You don't like NBA basketball.
Fox, goodbye. Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball. The exclamation point from De'Aaron Fox. Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball.
Boy, that's an ESPN highlight right there. Whoa. Carlson comes in. How about this? Holy moly, Jim Bob Foley. That is a major league smush.
Hey, welcome back in. Ryno and Sacktown taking you up to the tip-off. Kings and the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies, not a very good team. They've lost 3 of 4 coming into tonight, most recently against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So can the Kings pull it together? Can the good version of the Kings show up? Look, I'm not going to lie to you. This is the scary version of a bad team coming into the Golden One Center, and they've got the ingredients. Remember, the first time the Kings played Memphis back in January, Memphis signed half of a G League to a roster spot that day. They were that undermanned. But tonight they have Bane back. Obviously, no Ja Morant. Jaren Jackson Jr., he's a tricky one. The guy's like terrible for a rebounder, for a forward, yet he does well. So can the Kings not let him get on the boards? He does everything else pretty well. The rebounds, not so much. As a team, you worry a little bit about their defense. I say their defense because they don't do much well, but defensively, they are 5th in the NBA in steals, 4th in the NBA in blocks, and they are 5th in the NBA at 3-point attempts. You know what that means. Let's get you guys in here. Hey, multiple ways to get in touch with the show. You can scan the QR code right there. You can call the show. Also, you can put your chats in there. We'll get to those. And yeah, we love getting your intake. So happy to have you here tonight. Alberto starting us off. Must-win game tonight. No excuses. Absolutely. The Kings are in the 6th seed. They stood idle, and they are in the 6th seed. And don't look now, Kings fans. I don't want to scare you. I don't. But the Rockets, they're 3 games back of the Lakers. I get 3 games back this time of the year is a lot of games. But if the Lakers collapse a little bit, how uneasy are Kings fans going to be if the Rockets sneak into the 10? Because now you have a 10 seed, if the Kings end up in the play-in, that you have not beat 1 time this year versus a 10 seed in the Lakers that you've beaten 4 times this year. So a lot going on. Memphis has a bunch of players out. Yeah, they do. They've had a bunch of players out all season. Steven Adams, Ja Morant comes back from the suspension and then he gets hurt. So he's out the rest of the season, basically. They get Bane back. Bane's a hell of a player. He's given the Kings problems in the past. Jaren Jackson Jr., I go back to that because to me, this is a perfect game for the Kings to play some zone defense. You want to bait the Grizzlies into shooting the 3-pointer. You really do. But when the Kings have been playing that zone, we've talked about it here. We've talked about it on the Kings court. that they push their defense out. They push the other team out offensively. When that happens, that's when those steals and those tips and those deflections, which turn into 50-50 balls, those start going the Kings' way. The Kings start getting those bounces. And before you know it, they're in transition. Before you know it, the 3 ball's falling and all is good in Sacramento. If anybody is going to be at the game tonight, please, this team needs you. Bring it. Bring it, bring it, bring it. And message for Coach Brown. I hope you have a quick hook tonight. If you got a guy that's not doing what he's supposed to do, this is the exact game where you can pull them out. So, Foxy, let's say he gets another T. I'd pull him out. Monk, same thing. I'd pull him out. I mean, you got to get through to your players at some point, and the opportunities to do so, especially in a game situation, sometimes are few and far in between. So I think tonight's a good situation for Mike to be able to have a little bit of a shorter hook, and that tightens things up going into the playoffs. Frog, what's up, man? Hope you're having a good night. You think it's going to be a slow one, huh? It will be interesting. Did you guys see the 2-minute report, Frog? Yeah, it was funny to read. Domas Sabonis, finger to the eye. It read like a WWE Monday Night Raw script. So do the refs try to make up with it? I don't know. I don't think so. Could they? Possibly. Not going to happen, Adam. I don't think it's going to happen. Give me your guys' takes. Kevin Huerter has won a lot of games with this team in the starting lineup. And Keon Ellis, let's kind of slow down a little bit. And I'm a huge Keon Ellis guy. 100%. I think he brings an attitude. He brings something to the table that not really anybody else brings. That was supposed to be Davion Mitchell's brand, right? And now it's Keon's. And Davion's still playing great. Don't get me wrong. By Davion's standards, offensively, he's playing really well. But offensively, Keon, he's going to have his nights. You know, a couple nights ago when he starts, he's hitting shots, right? But the other night against the Knicks, not so much. Now, you wonder why the shot wasn't going down last game. And part of it was the defense, no doubt. And it was one of the few games this season that I accepted that we didn't win because shots didn't go down. I accepted it. It's a fair statement. Nate said it in the postgame. Well, tonight, I hope that's not the case. But what's also true about the shots the other night, they weren't the same shots this team was getting. And actually, some of you, I'm sure you already got your fingers going, you're chatting, but some of the shots were wide open. They were better looks, and they were just flat out missed. Keegan Murray's jump shot right now looks flat. You can tell 9 times out of 10, watch closely tonight. When he shoots his first shot, I can usually tell whether it's going to be a night for Keegan or whether it's not, just based on the trajectory of his jump shot. When it's flatter, it doesn't go in. When he gets a little more arc on it, it's the softest thing you've ever seen in your life. So, getting back to what I was saying, the Kings have to move the ball tonight. They've got to get back to the brand of basketball where everybody's touching it. Everybody doesn't have to score. Everybody needs to touch it, though, because then when that moment comes for Harrison to pull the trigger on a big 3 or Keon to do the same, it's not the first time they've touched the ball in 2-3 minutes. It's kind of a weird thing for a basketball player when you're not touching the ball and then you need to make a play. So I want to see the ball movement. My man Karf, welcome to the party. Hope the Kings can start a winning streak starting tonight. Well, these next 3 games, it's pretty much what our post-game show was about last game. If the Kings are going to get the 6th seed, the Kings need to go 3-0 in the next 3 games. Period. End of story. These are the 3 easiest games remaining on the schedule in consecutive orders. So if the Kings fumble this, then this is going to be kind of that sample size that I know if we're headed to the play-in or if we're headed to a 7-game series. And don't get me wrong, the Kings could fall into 6th place too. I think they're positioned well for 6. I know the Clippers are struggling right now. Funny, some of you on the pregame show the other night suggested that the Kings or somebody could get to 4. We didn't think so. But Yeah, they're struggling. I think the 6th seed is what you're looking for. So that is going to be the big thing tonight. I love all the comments. Keep them coming. Kings should be fine. They usually show up collectively after a tough loss. Yes, they do. Please, no step back to tonight. Get the win and climb the standings. What's up, Excel? Good evening, Walt. Happy to see you. Hope you're having a good one. Zakara, I feel Keon could start along Fox next season, as I don't believe Herder will not be on the roster. Okay. So we were just kind of talking about the Keon thing a second ago, and I think this is a perfect time to draw the distinction. Keon Ellis is the best option that the Kings have right now for what Mike Brown wants to do schematically and defensively. He's the best option that they have. This offseason, completely different story, Zakar. I'm not saying Keon cannot develop into that. He's shown you his trajectory is really, really good right now. He is on a good path. But there's a lot of other guys that are going to be available and could be better than Keon. Remember, he's a two-way player up until just after the All-Star. It was either the trade deadline or the All-Star break. I think it was the trade deadline. Adam, so he's taken Davion and Ellis over Herder. Yeah, you guys didn't want any of them. Remember the start of the season? You didn't want any of those guys. And now, well, Davion, you didn't want. Kevin, you didn't want. We'll say Keon. We won't go with him, but it's funny how that works. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the way those three players set up, and I'm going to go in the name that you name or the order you named them. Davion, defensive stopper in spots during the playoffs. He is your spot defender. Ellis, he's your dog. He is your dog. I was talking to Damon Bruce on the Kings court. He said if you took Keon Ellis's basketball spirit and put him into Andrew Wiggins's body, you'd have an all-star. Thought that was interesting. Kevin Herter now, last name on that list. I think Kevin could actually, if he did go to the bench, which I'm not convinced that's going to happen, if he did go to the bench, I think it would be good for him. I think he would bounce back really, really well. Hey, you're watching the pregame show on If You Don't Like That. Happy to have you here. I am Ryan in Sacktown. I will be joined at halftime by Napes. He will be here. Jerry has the night off. Had the pleasure of talking to him earlier today already. So he'll be back, though, for the next game. And then post-game, it's all you guys. We're looking forward to opening up the phone lines. And hopefully we're talking about a beam, right? Hopefully we are talking about a beam. Hey, and do me a favor if you haven't already. Go check out my daily podcast. That is the Kings Court on Apple, Spotify. That's the link for Apple. You can find it on any of the other platforms. But if you're going to listen to one episode, go listen to the deposition of Ryan in Sacktown. It'll pull all this, and this. It'll pull it all together for you. It'll give you my why. So please go check that out. I bet you will really like it. The response to the podcast has been unreal so far. Almost monetized already. Damn, you guys are the best. Check it out. It's a good listen. We actually talked. I actually had some harsh words for some of you and some harsh words for me in the past. We talked about Drapes and his situation and the story that came out in The Athletic. I'm not going to go into it here. Go listen to the podcast. Mine today. You'll like it. I think you will. It'll leave you with something to think about. All right, let's get back to these great comments. I'm not really giving you much in terms of information. I'm letting you take over the show. So you know what it's going to be with the Kings tonight. This is the Kings versus the Kings. Can they get out of their own way? The first quarter is going to be a key. Mike Brown, by the way, he the next day at practice after the loss to the Knicks, Coach Brown was talking about the Kings not closing out quarters. And he mentioned the third quarter, I think, is one of them. And I actually kind of take offense to that. That was a funky quarter. Think about all the stoppages. Think about the bad calls. That was a hard one to pull through. Now, the Kings coming out from the locker room as flat as they did, that was not good. That wasn't on the refs. That was on the Kings. But past that, it was a really weird quarter. So I don't know really of any teams or many teams that are going to be playing through that on a nightly basis. Spencer, what's up, man? We're talking Giants. Okay. All right. We pretty much talk basketball here, but I'll allow it. How about them Aztecs? We're dancing as a 5 seed. Is your college team dancing? Let me know. We need to pump the brakes on Keon. See, okay. We're starting to divide into 2 groups. The pump the brakes group and the sign him to a max deal group. Alberto is saying as Grant mentioned, teams are starting. Okay. Yes, there's a part to that, but no, there's not a part to that. I bring it up later tonight, Alberto. I'm happy to talk to Grant about it. Teams, Keon Ellis, not last game against the Knicks, but the game before, he was wide ass open. There was nothing scouted. Nothing. He ran that game. Last night or 2 nights ago against the Knicks, I don't know if you're going to call that scouting, but yes, as the playoffs get closer, you're right. And Grant's right about that. Remember what the Warriors did to Sabonis last year in the playoffs? You remember that? Things like that happen. Teams save their best, obviously, for the playoffs. It's their 2-point play in football. It's their 4th down play. Whatever, and teams now, that's why they're a little reluctant to put certain things on tape. And so if you're Mike Brown and you're the Kings, you hate to have to put everything on tape because you have to do it to get the victory. But you got to do what you got to do. I mean, again, they're in the 6th seed. Not too much to be upset about there. What's up, David? It seems like the season, the shots aren't falling like last season. And here's the other thing, David. The shots for other teams are falling more. Remember how we were all up on the Kings having the best offensive rating in history? By about the 3rd point or a third of the way through the season this year, there was already 6 teams that had surpassed that mark the Kings set last year. So Rich, my SDSU man, watching from St. George on the road again. Rich is always traveling. Love it, man. Thanks for checking in. Travel safe, my friend. Exactly it. Keon off the bench with Monk and Len would be nice. Now, let's talk about it really quick because the distinction that I made earlier in the show, and again, it's the Kings and the Grizzlies tonight. The stat of the game, the thing that I am looking at is steals. Can the Kings get 10 or more steals? If they do that, the Kings are likely going to win the game. The other stat I'm looking at is transition. Can the Kings win the transition? Can they win the fast break game? When they do that, they usually win games as well. But in terms of Keon off the bench, it's a good mix. The bigger thing, I don't think starting matters. Look at Kevin Huerter's minutes last game. It was, what did Grant say? I think it was like 16 minutes. It was something right around there. Well, it's not that much. That's starting the game, maybe getting another 3 or 4 minute stretch, starting the 3rd quarter, and you're done. So really what matters is who's on the court at the end of the game. And you saw that last game. You got Keon on the court at the end of the game. Thank you, Alberto. Insightful. Would you ever change your moniker? Elk Grove Ryan. I got to be careful about that. You know why? Because I don't want to be like Carmichael Dave. That's not, and I would love to be as successful as Carmichael Dave. When I say I don't want to be like Dave, I don't want to bite off of his name and just put a city in front of my name, you know? We'll see. Ryno is kind of where it's headed, Alberto. Ryno is the path that's kind of, it keeps coming up with everybody that talks to me. So I think it's going to be Ryno. And I wish I could use my last name. If you clones clean up your act, I will use my last name. But until I know some of you are responsible, which will be never, I'm not using my last name. If you guys are Jim Rome fans, you know, some clones, usually it's in good fun, but as in anything, there are clones that take it too far. What's up, Carf? Will the Kings score over 100 tonight? You know, I sure hope so, but that comes down to the pace again. And what I'm talking about with this possibly being a defensive battle, I mean, if you're the Kings, I think you can't let Memphis get set. And that then it's set on defense, which means it comes down to shot making. Can you make your shots and can you make the other team miss their shots? So we'll see what happens tonight. But yes, it could be a very low scoring game. In fact, the first game between these two, I believe, was very low scoring. Let's see. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now. If you guys have it, throw it in the chat. But the first game between these two teams, it was low scoring. And it was the one where the G League guys for Memphis got the run. Ryno from Sacktown? How about just Ryno? Do you guys want the Sacktown? I'm open to anything. You just got to realize because of the Rome stuff, it makes it a little bit weird because I am very heavily involved in the Rome show. So those that you know. So, anyways, yeah. Wow. I just realized SDSU's in the Mountain West. It was so funny. So Patrick on the Listen App show earlier today, let me give everybody some context. On Grant show, Patrick was like, "Hey, is Ryan mad at me? Like, I feel like maybe he felt disrespected." And when he said that on the show, I'm like, I don't even know what the hell he's talking about. And then he goes, "But I do want to talk about the Mountain West. Who the hell's the Mountain West? How do they get so many teams in the tournament?" And I'm like, "Oh, now you disrespected me." All right, Patrick. All right, buddy. No, I get it, dude. The Mountain West, it's late for your time zone, buddy. David, Ryan, bad losses aside, do you think that the Kings have shown better defense overall this season? Yes, in spurts. They've done it in spurts. When their defense is good, it's really good. And when it's bad, it's bad. And it's been the same way offensively, right, David? When it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's bad. Jekyll and Hyde. That's kind of where I fall. What's up, Jay? We better score north of 120. Yeah. I'm telling you. So, like, as I look at the stats for this team, for this Memphis team, I'm just going to read it down for you. Let's do it really quick. And then I want to tell you about Pop's Market after that. So let's just go here. Field goals made per game, 30th, last in the NBA. Field goals attempted, 25th in the NBA. Field goal percentage, dead last in the NBA. I already told you about 3-point attempts. Let's see. 3-point percentage, 30th last in the NBA. Do I need to be knocking on wood yet? Sorry. All right. Okay. You guys get the point. So when we look at the stats at the end of the first quarter, Jay and everybody else, it's going to be a problem if this team is shooting 45, 50%. 45 I'll live with. 50 or over. Uh-oh. So we will see what the Kings do here against the Grizzlies tonight. Again, that they absolutely have to have. In fact, it is a game that, in my opinion, the Kings must win. Not just this one tonight. They must also win the next two after it to be able to earn the 6th seed in the Western Conference. Hey, I want to tell you about the new member of the If You Don't Like That family. That is Pop's Premium Meat Shop in Elk Grove. Hey, they have American Wagyu. They have every single cut that you've heard of. And by the way, they have almost every cut you haven't heard of. And sometimes those are the best. Just as Dan, Brian, and the team there, they also have 14 different types of homemade sausages. 14. Go in to Pop's Premium Meat Shop in Elk Grove, located on Bruceville Road. Mention If You Don't Like That, Kings Court. Mention Ryno, Grant, whatever, Sacktown Ryno, whatever you guys want to say. They're going to give you one of their homemade sausages for free. And by the way, Pop's does so much for the community. Go check out Pop's, located on Bruceville Road in Elk Grove. Huge thanks to them for sponsoring If You Don't Like That. So, all right, we are getting ready to send you out for the Kings and the Grizz. Let's get some of these last minute comments in. before these two teams tip off. We're getting some first half. Let's see, Nerd, you're going 76-49 Kings. Okay. If they don't score over 100, they suck. I agree, especially against this team. And Jay's already said it. They need to have over 120. Don't disagree. But again, first quarter is going to tell you everything. This is one of those games where if Memphis has a good first quarter and they get confidence and they feel like they can play with this team, because Memphis, surprisingly, check this out. We have not said this tonight. They're 15-18 on the road this year. They're pretty good on the road for a bad team. So you can't let them have any confidence. I know, and credit to Carmichael Dave. This is 100% Dave's take, that he thinks teams get up for playing the Kings. Teams that are bad teams like Memphis. And it's not because they want to get a dub on the Kings. It's because of the atmosphere. It's the beam. It's the fans. They don't want to see that lit. Like, they literally, you heard what Patrick Beverly had to say about Sacramento not too long ago. So, don't let them be one of those teams. Just don't let them do it. Alberto, it is my pleasure as always. Hey, don't forget, we will be back right here at halftime. Grant and I breaking down the first half, and then after the game, it's your show. Bring it. We'll open up the phone lines. Also, we have a text line now. Don't forget about that. We'll send that out during the game. You can also leave voicemails on the text line. If you leave a voicemail and it's good, it might end up on one of our shows. Could end up here, could end up on the King's Court, could end up on If You Don't Like That. You just don't know. So give it a try. We would really appreciate it. And thank you again. Remember, if you haven't subscribed already, please give us a thumbs up. We haven't been getting a lot of thumbs up. Let's get those up a lot. So thank you guys. We used to get a ton of them, and now we've gotten lazy. So give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to Grant's channel. He actually just passed 7K. That's pretty damn cool. So thank all of you who are already subscribed, and please subscribe if you haven't already. And then check out my podcast, the King's Court Daily Podcast. Kings Insider gets you ready for the day, recap the past day, and we give you some fun stuff inside. If you're a Jim Rome fan, you'll really like this podcast. So hope you guys have a great first half. Go Kings, light the beam. We'll see you after 24 minutes.